Masters of the Universe, the Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Sean Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go. Get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of L.O.G on MYP. This is the Legends of Grayskull mini-series where Curtis Ackerman and Matthew Duch break down Mike Young Productions episode by episode, that great 2002 cartoon series of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Today we are on episode 12, and we are also joined by a special guest host. So, Curtis, I hope you're doing well. And Sean, welcome to L.O.G on MYP.
Hello.
So have you, I hope you've been following L.O.G on MYP thus far?
Yes, I have.
Yeah?
Not the entire thing, but I have been listening. So it's
okay, I really thought he was going to
completely caught up.
no
But
completely.
yes, I am
So.
listening. So it's not like I'm like, what? You guys are doing this? We completely haven't done a Legends of Grayskull. How long? No, I'm just kidding. But no. Yeah.
That's good to have you back with us today, Sean. You've definitely been missed. I'm loving what me and Curtis are doing, but it's glad to have you along for the ride.
Good to be here, as always.
Curtis, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Just ready to talk some more MYP. I gotta say though, missing comments from Lion Mom. It's been since episode 5 since we've seen any comments. So folks, if you like what we're doing, you hate what we're doing, throw some comments out there. Let's see what you think. But yeah, I'm ready to talk some more MYP.
Yeah, don't forget you can leave a comment down below if you're watching us on YouTube. If you are on the audio version, we do have the email logpod85@gmail.com. You can always send us questions, comments, concerns there. We are gearing up to do kind of a listener feedback episode, so make sure you get that stuff in there. I believe it'll be episode after episode 13 will be the point where we'll do the listener. So yeah, if you're listening to this, you probably got a couple weeks here to get it in. So but yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
And for audio listeners, just to give a shout out to Curtis's shirt. He's got a cool new Zodak shirt on today, folks. Yep. He's very proud.
It is not MYP
Zodak,
but yeah.
Yes, it is Filmation Zodak, but it's still props for the fact that he's got almost one of his boys, not the guy.
I would have got his Xanthor shirt if they had one, but alas, not to be.
Oh, that could be a pretty easy. Yeah, I might have to work on that.
I do have some art for Xanthor that I could probably have somebody put on a shirt, but yeah,
I like it. All right, so for today, L.O.G on MYP, we are on episode 12, Mekaneck's Lament. This is written by Eric and Laura Rennells, directed by Gary Hartel, and it originally aired on November 22nd, 2002. So, heading into this episode, we're coming off. Unfortunately, we're coming off of Turnabout, which, especially on this rewatch, Curtis and I were not too pleased with. So let's see if Mekaneck's Lament is going to turn us around here.
Okay.
So we start off with another battle. He-Man or not
just
He-Man.
right in the thick of it too.
Yeah, they've been doing this. They've been actually. I never realized how much they've been doing this until this kind of critical rewatch that we've been doing. So we either start with at least first season here, we either start with training or midst of a battle.
Yeah.
So definitely seeing more of a format to this than I ever noticed before.
And the very first thing that we see is Man-at-Arms versus Clawful, which is just killer. I mean, so good. Like when Clawful's not talking in 2000X, he looks scary. Like he looks absolutely terrifying. If you could just keep him to keep his mouth shut, he is not somebody that you'd want to mess with. So like Man-at-Arms going against him is pretty cool. But yeah, it turns out, you'd think it's just the two of them at first, or at least I did. And then it kind of pans back and you're like, oh no, this is a massive battle. But no He-Man.
Because it sits on Man-at-Arms and
Adam's in the thick of it.
And I like that they show Man-at-Arms actually, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but like you can tell like he's putting some effort into it. These battles are well done. I like that the Adam and Tila teaming up to try and take on Skeletor. I like that adds to the world here where like, there are going to be times where Adam can't get away and transform and he's going to have to throw down. And I really like what they're doing with the Adam character with his growth and his acceptance of his role. Balancing the lazy prince, but still here, he can still put up his dukes when he needs to. Skeletor and company. Skeletor's able to put up a wall of fire to delay the heroic warriors. Man-at-Arms calls for a retreat.
Which this is the first time we've seen that.
Yeah. Well, no, I think with the fireballs in the beginning before He-Man arrived.
Well, he did call it for a retreat. I mean, they were getting their butts kicked, but he didn't tell them to back. Like, I don't think he told them to retreat, though. Did he? I
thought so. I could be wrong, though. I don't know. I just didn't remember him calling out retreat all busted up for some reason. Maybe I'm thinking of another episode. But regardless, Tila is upset with Man-at-Arms because he's allowing Skeletor to access the bridge that leads to Grayskull. Here's the part that I love this opening sequence. I love the battle, but I'm like, why is just the fact that they're heading to Grayskull a big deal? Because that really seems to be like the crux of her argument here. Like, he's on his way to Grayskull. Not like he's about to breach Grayskull or what. Like, no, he's going to take the bridge.
We've seen him at the doors to Grayskull. And even on the a couple episodes ago, we saw him on the roof of Grayskull.
Yep.
So this bridge has never been a problem.
Right.
But now all of a sudden it's like, no, if he gets this bridge, it's all over. I don't know. I was kind of in the same boat though. I was like, why is the bridge all of a sudden this big important thing?
Right. Instead of setting up to where like, oh, he's about to get something to help him conquer Grayskull or what, like, it's like, no, it just Skeletor has found the road to Grayskull. It's like, there's lots of roads to
He's been there several times. Yeah.
There's a tourist trap right down the road from it. Like,
he also has flying machines. He doesn't need a bridge. Like I don't know, man.
All right. But yeah, so after listening to Tila chastise him for a little bit, Man-at-Arms simply points out that maybe he wanted Skeletor to take the bridge and gestures to a nearby rocky mountain top. Tila takes the hint and orders the masters to fire on the mountain with everything they've got, causing an avalanche that takes out the bridge and Skeletor's warriors.
Well, and they split up the team into three teams.
Yep.
There's a one team going high, one team going low, and then Mekaneck on reconnaissance.
Yes.
So,
which, watching it, it's like, okay, that does actually make sense. Like, Mekaneck, watch our backs. We're going to take this out, It definitely sets up the plot of the episode, but I actually felt like that was well done, where it's like, okay, that tactically that makes sense.
It wasn't like they were talking down to him or anything like that. It's like that is really the benefit that he brings to the team.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I also like that little animation where Adam's lining up with everybody and Manny Faces pulls out a blaster and hands it to him. Like, just the fact that they take the minute to account to the fact that Adam doesn't carry blaster weapons with him. You know, it would have been easy for them just to be like, oh, Adam has a blaster today for some reason.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's the little things in life.
Yeah, exactly. Just
We're not
those
going to
little
explain why
touches.
the bridge is so important, but we'll show how he got the blaster.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We did fail to mention too that in that opening battle, Triclops gets Mekaneck literally right across the neck. Pretty brutal looking injury. Luckily, it's a cybernetic neck, or else that would be really disgusting.
It was really a pain in the neck.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
I see what he did there. Yeah.
Again, though, MYP, these battles are top notch when they do. Like, they're again, we're having.
I did notice a little spinny weapon with Skeletor. He was doing some spinny staff, but
A little
other
bit,
than that, it's not near as bad as it was in the first few episodes. But yeah, we got a little spinny staff action.
And how'd you feel about Teela chastising somebody other than Adam? Like, she lays into Man at Arms just as much as she does Adam.
I mean, we've kind of discussed this. She's at an age where, I look back to when I was a teenager and I was kind of an asshole too. Like, you think you know everything. And, she's at that age where she does. Now, questioning Man at Arms on the battlefield, well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, she's the captain of the Royal Guard. Like, really who's in charge in that situation? Is Man at Arms in charge, or is she in charge?
I kind of wondered the same thing
because based on the role, I would think that she would be in charge, but based on his age and just mentorship and stuff, I don't know. It's difficult to say.
And it's interesting that Teela's the one who ends up calling the battle order, not Man at Arms.
He normally does in most of them, yeah.
Yeah. But I also like that when you look at it that way, like the people that she's going against, I know you're still not a big fan of how she is in the early episodes, but like she's using that at Adam, who she views as her, he's like her best friend, maybe something more. And literally her father. So it's like, it's against these people that, she's having a hard time separating her warrior life with her personal life. Like, you don't see her doing that with Ram Man or anybody else. It's these people that are the closest to her.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday because I have a tendency, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have a tendency to be kind of a sarcastic jerk.
No, I don't think I've ever noticed that at all.
Well, the people that get it worse in my life are the people that are closest to me.
Yes.
So, poor Darla, Jesse, like they kind of get the brunt of it. My kids.
Yeah.
And I think Teela's kind of that way where it's like people that are closest to her are going to get the most, guff or whatever from her. So
it's funny, actually. I just had that conversation with somebody yesterday because they were saying, "Why do you always give me such a hard time?" And I'm like, "Because I like you."
Right, exactly.
I'm like, you have to worry if I'm nice to you all the time,
or
that's
not
when you
talking at all. Yeah,
right. Like everything's just polite and professional. That's when you got to worry. That means I very much dislike you. So back to our story. They successfully stopped Skeletor from taking this important shortcut to Grayskull that would end the universe if he crossed that bridge. So back at the Royal Palace,
in the river. Yep.
Back at the Royal Palace, everyone is laughing, having a good time, celebrating their victory, except for Mekaneck, who's feeling pretty useless. He wishes he had some great skills like Manny Faces and Stratos and everybody else. And Adam's actually the one that kind of talks him up, like, dude, you did fine. We did great. We won. Like, take the victory.
Yeah, you're an important part of the team.
Yeah, we all did our part. And it actually worked. Like, Mekaneck seems a lot better after talking to Adam.
Yeah, I mean, he's still kind of moping, but he's not. He did listen to Adam.
Yeah, and he's kind of on the upswing. And then Adam notices that his neck's having some issues. So he's gonna go get checked out at Man at Arms by Man at Arms. So I liked Adam playing kind of that sympathetic, like, ear to shoulder to cry on.
Well, and almost kind of a cheerleader kind of role, like, trying to pump somebody up and get their confidence up, kind of thing.
Yeah, it kind of works with like that. His, especially now, Adam's really trying to play up Adam as the slacker, whatever. But he also seems to be that guy. Like, we all that guy that like could hang out with any of the like cliques and like get along with them in the gym and be like, no, dude, you're cool because of this, and he's cool because of this. Like, that's kind of what I see them doing with Adam here, and it's kind of nice to have him be like that. That slacker, but like he's got a heart.
Well, he's still heir to the throne as well, and I think they're showing here that he knows how to motivate people and talk to them and that kind of thing. So
exactly, that diplomacy. So again, just really fleshing out the Adam character instead of just slacker Adam and most powerful man in the universe, He-Man.
Yeah, this version of Adam is my favorite version to date. I'd say Revolution's close though, but because of this kind of stuff, you get to see from the beginning he's a little more self-important, and the Warriors already dealt with that years ago. Why do I have to deal with it? And now, as he's seeing what's on the line throughout this series, he's knowing he's got to step up a bit, and I like that quite a lot.
Absolutely. We cut to later, and Adam is heading to Man at Arms lab to get his hoverboard looked at, where he meets a now once again defeated feeling Mekaneck heading out. And this time Mekaneck's not listening. He's whatever he's doing.
Head
he's
down, moping. Yep.
So and when Adam enters the lab, he talks to Man at Arms, who shows Adam this new reconnaissance device that he's been working on. Adam puts two and two together that he showed it to Mekaneck, and that definitely was the wrong time.
And he asked him, did you show this to Mekaneck?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, I did. And Man at Arms is totally clueless, has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
I just remember when we talked about 2000 on the regular show, I would say Man at Arms in this is a dick, and this is a perfect I love it. It's completely not even something that, oh, by the way, here's this new reconnaissance thing I made. He used the word reconnaissance with him how many times during the freaking battle at the beginning of the episode. But no, it wouldn't even register in his mind that this is something that's going to make him feel worse. Thanks, dude. Love you,
And definitely a focus for me on this miniseries is the Man at Arms character. And we've already talked in previous episodes about how he's like this paranoid, like militaristic survivalist.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, he is so blind to people's emotions.
He's very focused on what he needs to do to be successful, that any of the, just like we've talked about the sorceress kind of being cold in this series, Man at Arms is also very cold. It's just, what needs to get done, not about anybody's feelings or anything.
How can I win this war? Well, if we had these reconnaissance tools, that would help. And that's all. And personal emotions make no difference. It does not matter at all.
Which, I mean, it is very much what I would imagine like a military leader to be like, and that's kind of the role that he's filling here.
He's that General Lane. He's that guy that just like, no, this is how we do it. And I really like that, and I think Sean, you said that this is your favorite Adam. This is my favorite Man at Arms, because he's not this perfect guy. He's caring and sympathetic, and he knows everything, and he can build anything, and he can do anything, and he's this perfect mentor. he has these flaws, which open up a lot of neat story aspects, and I really like what they do with this character.
Yeah, the thing that I most point to of him, and it's unfortunate not in this episode, but the courage of Adam. Literally, the episode ends with him looking at Adam, and after everything that happened, going, "Now you know why He-Man will always be needed," and it's like cut to credits. I'm like, wow, you know, like, and he's never ever not been that guy. Like, he doesn't have a huge amount of growth. He has some regrets later and stuff, but it is amusing to me that they just let him be that guy, and it is easy to see why Teela is who she is on this show, if that's who's raised her. And it works for me, because He-Man's going to be the heart guy. He-Man's going to be the, like we're talking about Adam here. He-Man's going to be the one to like thank everybody who helped that day during a battle, because that's what he is to them in that way. So
well, and early on, Matt, I don't know if you remember, but when I was kind of very irritated with the whole Teela thing, you know, talking bad about Adam and stuff, I was also irritated with Man-at-Arms, because when Teela would talk shit about Adam, Man-at-Arms knew why Adam wasn't there. He knew that he had to get him and all that, and he did nothing to try to change that narrative. He did nothing to try to explain Adam's absence. And I think as this series is progressing, you're seeing, okay, well, that's not who he is. Like, yeah, he didn't cover Adam's absence because he doesn't care. He doesn't. It's not that he's not intentionally trying to be a jerk. It's just that is not even something that's at the forefront of his mind. You know?
No, I completely agree. It's we need He-Man. Adam is He-Man. Adam goes become He-Man. We fight threat. Like all this secret identity, personal stuff, like it.
Teela's complaining about Adam, but that's just the way it's going to be, because she can't know. Okay, like there's there's nothing to do with feelings.
If anything, it might even be like, it might even be intentional as so far as he's thinking like, okay, Teela and Adam are closest. If anybody's going to figure out his secret identity first, it's going to be Teela. So if I can keep Teela irritated with Adam, then that will further differentiate in her mind the Adam and He-Man persona. So then she won't connect the dots. If she's the one most irritated by him, she'll never be able to reconcile that these two could be the same person. Like he's thinking so far ahead. Like
I feel like he's just oblivious to people's feelings. I feel like he doesn't have an empathetic bone in his body. Yeah. And it's all strategic. It's all X's and O's on the battlefield. And that's, I think, how his mind works. Yeah. Even here, you know, he's building this reconnaissance thing because he feels like it's something that could help sway the battle in their favor. And it doesn't even register with him that this is something that, as he's telling Mekaneck about it, could hurt his feelings. Like he doesn't even register, you know? Yeah.
So we meet back up with Mekaneck. He's pouting by a lake, feeling sorry for himself, where he meets a little old man who says that he can grant him his wishes of any powers he wants. All of the powers will be his if he just does one small itty bitty thing for him.
Well, and he says because he would like to have flying powers of Stratos or monster powers of Manny Faces. I just thought that was interesting, that like I've never heard of Manny Faces, like when he switches to the monster face, that all of a sudden that gives him some sort of extra power. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I know they dive deeper into that once we get into Monster Within. But yeah, in this series, Manny Faces, he gets the extra strength when he's the monster.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting, the way that he brought that up. So
absolutely agreed.
But yeah, then the old man says he has to retrieve this amulet from the sands of fire.
Yeah, just one little amulet. I should have written it down, what his sister gave it to him or something like
that. Yeah.
And it just happens to be in the sands of fire. You know, like you do with your sister's heirlooms she gives you.
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't seen that played out?
Right.
That's the whole Luke throwing the lightsaber over your shoulder moment of Masters of the Universe, probably.
But I like that, you know, we're sugarcoating the scene, but like Mekaneck isn't immediately just like, yes, like he is questioning a bit, and he does, you know, he is a little
but he
wary.
doesn't see any harm in this. Like there's nothing, and I mean, I guess if you don't know what's going on, it seems like this guy could be harmless, whatever. But a guy just granting wishes seems kind of odd too. So
Yeah, but this is Eternia, where spells
correct.
are cast regularly and they
Yep.
have all these powers. So, but I just like the fact that he's not just immediately like, okay, he questions a little bit, and then eventually, I think if anything, he's like, well, if anything went wrong, like I could take this little dude. Like
Yeah.
even without extra powers. I think that's the
With
thing.
my
It's like,
reconnaissance powers.
My
Right,
reconnaissance. Well, he used them to. He used it to headbutt somebody in the first episode, if I remember correctly.
yeah, I think
So
it was
it's like he's got
it was
that going for he can
Triclops.
knock him back into the lake using his own head.
Right. Like, so I think it's the risk versus reward thing.
Yeah.
For Mekaneck. At the end of the day, he's like, if
Oh.
nothing else, I can take this dude.
We forgot something earlier. I'm sorry. I just had to throw it out there. When Adam was trying to console him early on, he mentioned he did a callback to the previous episode where Mekaneck was able to save He-Man and Randor when they fell down the cliff. And so he brought that up, and it was kind of a callback to that previous episode. And that was kind of the trigger where Mekaneck was going, oh, you know what? You're right. I basically helped save them at that point. So just wanted to throw that out there because we failed to mention that part.
Truth. So actually then we go to Grayskull.
Which this is weird. Like
right?
this is just like nothing has happened yet. Like there's been no it's not like because spoiler alert, the old man is Count Marzo, but he hasn't got the amulet yet. He hasn't transformed. Nothing has happened, but it just so happens to be at this very moment, Sorceress just happens to be talking about Count Marzo.
Yes. I thought the same thing. I'm like, why? I love the scene. I love the flashback. So there's a whole flashback. Sorceress explains to Adam who Count Marzo was. He was a villain from the past. He actually fought against Adam's grandfather, Captain Miro. So we get Miro into the lore officially from Filmation to 2000X.
I think it would have been better to do this scene after
he got the amulet
and starts attacking Eternia.
Yep.
Or attacking the palace. Then I think it would have been good for her to just kind of like send her little mind message to Adam and be like, here's who this is, and he's very dangerous, and the powers that he gets are from the amulet, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I love the exposition, just the placement. Even if they had done it after Mekaneck had retrieved the amulet, like when Mekaneck touches the amulet, if it like sent off a signal and sorceresses are like, oh no, like
because
even that would have made
similar to the other one that you had talked about in Siren Song, when they show Ram Man actually getting, like we don't. It's supposed to be this whole kind of whodunit thing, but they show us right away who done it. And the same thing here, like they're spoon feeding us now. Maybe this because it's for a younger audience, whatever. But they're spoon feeding us what this amulet is before we actually see the amulet retrieved and given it to him. So then, by the time he gets it and gives it to Marzo, it's like this is, you're not surprised with what happens because they already told you what's going to happen. So,
and the thing is with this episode, going back to my day and date, I know Curtis, you watched later. Sean also watched later. We had the tagline on Cartoon Network's website, and that's all we had to go off of. And it was basically just something like Mekaneck, tries to get better powers or something like that. Like nobody had any idea going into this that Count Marzo was coming back, that he was going to be featured. So for that, it's kind of anticlimactic here. Even when we meet this dwarf, like you're not like, oh, that's clearly Count Marzo. Like, so yeah, for them to do this,
and even
scene
once
here,
you see him transform into Count Marzo, he doesn't look anything like the Count Marzo we recognized from Filmation. He's quite a bit different. He does look badass. I think he might be the coolest redesign that they've done in this series so far. But I liked the original Count Marzo because they used the same drawing for Count Marzo that they did for Xanthor. Spoiler alert. So in Filmation, they just colored him different. Just FYI.
Yeah, they did that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the redesign of this is very cool. So, but before that, Mekaneck gets to the Sands of Fire. He's got to basically kind of like, there's this whole thing in a mountain and through these like caves and all, and his neck can apparently just go on for infinity. It's just like shoom, 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 shoom. Yeah. All over for 5 minutes. And then it gets there, and I'm like, okay, so he just took his head all the way through here. What's he going to do now? And of course, he bites it with his teeth. And it's like, really, like, this is the moment where I go, man, you didn't have to do this to Mekaneck. Like, like being like this super awesome reconnaissance person is his value. You don't have to all of a sudden make it this, like, my neck can go in all these crazy places and then I can bite stuff with my teeth. Like, it feels degrading to me to do this to Mekaneck.
I like that they showed that his power, for like his neck has no limit. Like, apparently it's kind of a nanotech where it's like fabricating the sections rather than, like the toy is technically a neck inside his body. You twist it and it pops up. Like, it's for the real world, quote unquote, implications are that, like, he's got nanotech that's creating these extensions as it goes. And, so I like that, but yeah, I thought too that there could have been a better task for him to do to retrieve the amulet. Like in that case, you could have trained a snake and sent it in. You know what I mean? It's like, why Mekaneck? I guess that's my big thing rewatching it here critically is, why did it need to be Mekaneck? If there had been something only he could do here,
right?
And then it would tie in a little bit more, in my opinion.
I did. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Well, I mean, like, thinking about it right now, because I thought the same thing every time I watched this one, and it's like Orko could have maneuvered that thing and gotten in and out without needing Mekaneck to do what he's doing there. So it's like this episode is almost like the writer's attempt to go, well, for every He-Man there's a Skeletor, for every Fisto there's a Jitsu. So like they're trying to kind of pair up characters that never had the other side of the coin for them. And in this case, this one feels really like the balance is off to me, no matter what. Marzo is a really cool villain.
Oh, yeah, like, very cool.
Mekaneck is good at what he does, but he's not somebody I'd ever say, hey, there's Count Marzo. Mekaneck, that's your guy. Go get him. It doesn't translate to me.
It feels to me like they had like an episode layout with bullet points, and they were like, okay, we want there to be a battle at the beginning, so Mekaneck feels like he's not as useful as the others. We want him to go off and be looking for other powers. We want Count Marzo in this episode, but he can't be Count Marzo at the beginning because we want him to get his powers after. We want him to fool Mekaneck. Somehow, it's like they had all these bullet points, but then in a lot of instances throughout this episode, they didn't really connect the bullet points to where you understood why it had to happen. Why did it have to be Mekaneck? Why did, why was the bridge important? Why, so it's like, it just feels like there's the bones of a really good story here, but they just didn't navigate it very well.
It had that vibe of like a softball pitch to me. It had that, it's an underhanded, slow pitch. Here you go, Mekaneck. We're giving you this one. And it really, every time I watch this one, I'm always like, it's that we're trying to make everybody important, but this is not selling me on Mekaneck compared to Ram Man or Manny Faces or any of the other core masters. So
I think you could have done an episode with Mekaneck being important without it being this one with Marzo. Because even as we get, I'll talk about
we'll get into it. I'm sure we all have.
There's other things later that happen with Mekaneck that it's like, okay, other people could have done the same thing.
So, real quick before we move on, just on that fact, it's like, and I wish I could remember who originally said it, but back on the He-Man.org message boards regarding this episode, and unfortunately I can't even look up He-Man.org anymore to try and find it. But one of the users was like, "Oh yeah, regarding Mekaneck's Lament, he said this is the moment where Mekaneck secured his great rival, Count Marzo. For Count Marzo, it was a Tuesday."
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly, and that has summed it up perfectly since the episode aired. Like,
It was a balmy Tuesday on Eternia.
right.
It's like the in Avengers where Scarlet Witch is talking to Thanos about
You
he
took everything
away
from
with-
me.
He's like, I don't even know who you are.
Exactly.
That's
they meet again, that's
basically
what
what's
he
going
says.
on here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so
He
Mekaneck.
bites the amulet, gets it, takes it back to the old man.
Well, I did want to say real quick, because we did kind of gloss over the flashback. I did like how the flashback set up Marzo as a powerful villain. Like, he has taken on all of the Royal Guard, or the whatever they were back then, the Hall of Wisdom, the Elder Guard. I don't know, but he takes them all on himself. And they show that it takes like all the armies of Eternia to like take down this one dude.
Mhm.
Like, so they sufficiently set him up as this powerhouse,
Yes.
which I like. So, but yes, so Mekaneck gets the amulet. He gives it back to the dwarf, who we all now assume is Marzo, and he just takes off. It doesn't even.
And I don't like this part either. Like, I think that, I mean, Marzo is clearly powerful enough that I think he could have granted the wish,
Right.
so to speak. Like, I think that he should have done that, even if it was like a temporary thing, even if temporarily he gave Mekaneck the ability to fly or something. It's like, here you go, and then he kind of skedaddled and then maybe it wore off or something. Like, just for him to the old man just goes away and Mekaneck's like, well, oh well, I guess.
That would have been a good distraction, because leading into what he's going to do, which I know we shouldn't go too far into that, but it would at least have him be one of the last guys to show up, because he just dealt
Right.
with whatever that spell was. And then he's just like, oh crap, that's why he's
Or
in the
maybe
middle of
he's
it.
off learning his new power or whatever,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it fails him, and he's got to kind of maybe he gets the ability to fly, and so he's learning how to fly or whatever while all this other stuff's going on, and then his flight fails him, and he's got to walk back to Eternia kind of in shame and sees all this stuff going on.
Yeah, that's.
But
what I was
yeah,
thinking.
he doesn't give him any powers. He doesn't grant the wish, and Mekaneck doesn't even really do anything about it. He's just like,
Oh, darn
right,
it!
well,
Well, that stinks.
shucks.
It's kind of like when you almost get scammed on eBay, but like at the end of the day, like you didn't actually lose any money, so you're just like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I want to say that they're, and again, I have nothing to verify this with, but back on He-Man.org, Dean Stefan used to do like Q&As once in a while. And I want to say in one of those, he had said that there was a deleted scene from this episode where Mekaneck would have actually gotten a wish granted. And,
that would have been cool.
But for whatever reason, it ended up being cut. So,
Yeah.
But yes, so Mekaneck, as he sulks, we see Marzo transform from the dwarf into his Count Marzo form,
Which looks amazing. He looks badass.
Yeah, he looks awesome. A great upgrade.
Yes.
I love it. Absolutely
so cool.
love it. His amulet. He turns his 2 rats that he has into these terror rat dogs. Like, oh, they're awesome too.
Did they make a toy version of him in the 2000X line?
Nope.
No.
This is the only version. The classics is the only time he's ever been
the
made.
reason I ask is because I know a lot of those designs for MYP kind of came from the Horseman designs for the toys. So I wonder if they had any hand in his redesign, or if that was straight the animators.
I want to say this one was MYP.
Okay.
So
it's really cool. I love it.
No, it is, and it fits in really nicely. I feel he's instantly recognizable while being different at the same time. Like,
yeah, he doesn't. The filmation Count Marzo was kind of a skinny, nothing, whatever, and definitely not somewhat bare chested as this one is.
Mhm.
He was not a bulky, scary individual. But yeah, this one's kind of, I mean, even if he didn't have powers, he would look kind of terrifying. I mean, he's ripped.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he
then
looks. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
No, like when I see that, he's one of the few villains in MYP that we didn't get figures of in the line until Classics, where when you look at him and you put him next to Skeletor, he looks like he would give Skeletor a run for his money, and that is very hard to say about other people other than Evil Lyn in the 2000X universe, for my money at least.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then he apparently had rats with him that he now can transform into big giant monster rats. That
if the rodents of unusual size bred with the terror dogs from Ghostbusters, that's what these two are, and I'm all in for it, and I'm still upset to this day that we don't have them in a toy version. So come on, Masterverse, on it. But yeah, so and now's the moment where all of a sudden, once he transforms, the sorceress is like, "Oh no, Marzo's back," and lets Adam know that he needs to
what a
change into
coincidence!
He-Man.
I was just talking about this.
Right? Like, I don't.
It's like me and Sean talking about 1/12 Mondo, and all of a sudden it just happens. It's like it's like we manifested it, you know.
I guess, but again, why these two scenes? Why couldn't you have just had like he transforms here, Sorcerer's like, "Oh no, Adam, this is who he is," cue flashback, and then go get him, Tiger. Like, combine those two. There's no reason to have those as two separate scenes, two separate times. There's definitely separate times because he goes from Grayskull and would catch up with him napping in the stables. So, but Adam transforms into He-Man. First appearance of He-Man in the episode. This might, besides the beginning, which I'm kind of taking off the table, this might be the latest He-Man appearance.
And I love the unique transformation scene that they do
with the horses in the background.
I just mean because it like they do the same transformation,
but they did have the horses like scared of them.
They had the horses.
But then after that, then it's like, you know, the same jump on Battle Cat. You know, it's like, come on, guys. All right.
I did have to give them props though, because I noticed the same thing. I'm like, oh, they actually kept the horse sound effect in there, like as he's transforming.
Anyway, 2000X, it's don't come for the transformation, come for the badass storytelling most of the time. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the transformation is cool, but it's like you don't have to use it every single episode. The
best transformation that they had, in my opinion, is later down season 1's thing.
No, we're right here.
I'm just saying that for my money, I'm good to go. But this one is fun because at least the horses are like, "Holy crap! What's happening in here?"
So he transforms, he encounters Marzo, and Marzo whoops his ass. Like Marzo lays a smackdown on He-Man, and even like knocks him out cold. Like,
him and Battle Cat. They both
the rats tear apart Battle Cat too. Like,
Battle Cat always gets knocked out. I was not underwhelmed by that. I was like, okay, at least it's consistent. Almost every time Battle Cat fights anything, he gets knocked out.
Yeah, that's one tracker we really haven't done as much.
Bugs
me and Curtis, but I know that's a big thing for Sean. That Battle Cat always gets knocked out of the fight.
Yeah.
Maybe needed the Mondo Battle Cat instead of the MYP Battle Cat. You know.
Yeah.
So Marzo takes out He-Man. Heads into the palace, takes out everybody,
all the masters. He's taking them all out. Yeah.
Yep. The terror rat dogs start.
Apparently, rats have the ability to unleash a toxic cloud. Like, I get that he made them big, but like, I don't like if he had some like skunks with him or something, and like then they became big and did like where did. I don't get where the toxic cloud related to the rats is. It doesn't.
I think it's kind of the like.
Where it's like it doesn't make sense, but
see, I think it's one of those things that like rats are like carriers of disease type thing.
Okay.
I can't say for sure, but like something's tickling my mind of maybe a D&D like rat monster that has kind of a similar ability. It felt right to me, I guess is what I'm saying.
It also is interesting, like this, Marzo's this powerful guy, and he's going to have these rats like project this cloud or whatever, but the cloud just knocks people out. Like it doesn't kill anybody. It doesn't make them deathly ill. It's just basically knocks them out. So
unless it's a time thing,
maybe
where it's like fumigating a house. Like first it just knocks you out, but if you're under there long enough,
gotcha.
Because there definitely seemed to be, at least once we get, to He-Man and Mekaneck, it seemed like there was, like...
If you're in it long enough, you develop mesothelioma.
Exactly.
you have to be part of a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, attorney class action lawsuit against Count Marzo.
Oh, better call lawyer.
Nice. Okay, sorry.
So Mekaneck winds up sulking back to the palace where he's met by Orko, who exclaims that they need to find He-Man. Some dude's taken over the palace. And here's where I need to get into my big issues with this.
Okay.
So we set up at the beginning that there's Man-Arm's working on this new reconnaissance invention that makes Mekaneck sad or whatever. You're thinking, number one, I think that should have looped back into this somehow. Like maybe Man-Arm's like calls off the front guards because he's got this new reconnaissance thing and like it fails here. Just somewhere like that was pretty much just thrown away. I would have liked it to come back where Mekaneck kind of proves like even with these machines, I'm still needed type of thing. And number two, Orko races up to him and is like, we need to find He-Man. And Mekaneck just goes and confronts Marzo. It's like, why isn't Mekaneck the one to find He-Man? Like,
I took that as that Mekaneck is trying to prove himself. He's trying to show that he is important, that he can do something. He doesn't need He-Man to do this. And I'll be honest with you, I know this is a Masters of the Universe and you're going to have He-Man and typically he's going to save the day.
Right.
But I would have rather him save the day. I would have rather He-Man either stayed knocked out or been at the palace or not been able to transform because other people were around. I wish that it was just Mekaneck saving the day.
I agree with that. What I'm trying to say is I wish it had come full circle to where Mekaneck embraces the abilities that he has.
Right.
And that allows him to save the day where He-Man can't, you know.
Like he sees an opening that would allow He-Man to go somewhere or do something where the cloud's not at or whatever's going on. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense.
Something like that. Or like I said, maybe instead of Marzo just knocking He-Man out, maybe Marzo knocks him out and puts him somewhere where then Mekaneck's the one who finds him and then, like you said, finds the weakness in Marzo's attack.
Yeah.
Like there just seems to be because what we get is Mekaneck's able to defeat Marzo because he can stretch his neck above the gas.
Yeah, the gas can't go high enough for where his head goes. And this is where I was like,
right.
Okay, what about all the flying masters? Like, what about Stratos? What about Buzz? Like, none of them could have.
What about just going up the staircase where Marzo's standing above the gas? Like,
yeah, it just once again feels like bad writing. They're like, okay, we got to somehow make Mekaneck useful. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, he can raise his neck up. Okay, well then have all the danger going on below his neck. Like,
right.
Then he bites them at the knees.
Yeah, and then then he bites the amulet and tosses it to He-Man. And once again, it's like, okay, so that's what is the takeaway from this is that Mekaneck has a great bite, that he can do stuff with his teeth. Like that is not to your point, dude. I think it would have been much better if he would have used that ability of reconnaissance to be able to devise a plan that then him and He-Man could have executed together and saved the day, instead of once again we're going to have him use his bite powers.
Right.
Mhm.
And if at the same time Man-Arms could have put those machines into effect and they failed, or that's what allowed Marzo to get
Oh,
access.
that would have been great. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
If the reconnaissance things
Yeah.
failed, and so then Mekaneck had to save the day because of that. Oh, that'd have been awesome.
Exactly. So then at the
Mhm.
end of the day, we're sitting here going, I would have rather Mekaneck embraced his powers and been like, no, reconnaissance is necessary to the team. And
Yeah.
we never get that full circle moment. We get
Mhm.
instead, like you said, we just get, I can bite and I can throw.
Yeah.
So I'm good now.
Mhm.
And then He-Man throws the amulet.
Yeah, just
and-
throws it.
And yeah, just that doesn't crush it, doesn't
Nope.
take it, just throws it. It goes way far away,
Yep.
and then it lands in some water. And for some reason, there's an explosion.
Thank you.
I don't know.
I
don't know why
rewound.
there's an explosion.
I
Because we see
rewound
the
this.
amulet later, and the amulet didn't explode. The amulet's
Nope.
still there.
Yep.
But somehow, when the amulet hit the water, there's an explosion. So
I rewound it 3 times trying to figure out what I missed. And I'm like, was it the idea like Mekaneck or Marzo was about to like blow up the whole palace and Mekaneck grabbed it, but like the charge was already set type thing, but it doesn't really ever explain it. Like,
you know what my thought was as soon as it hit the water? We're gonna get another one of these big fish to bite Man-at-Arms, aren't we? the fish is gonna bite the amulet and become supercharged, and this is gonna be the 3rd time we see a giant fish eat Man-at-Arms.
I like it. Let's do it.
I don't know if I could have stayed with this show if a 3rd goddamn flying fish thing would have happened ever. I love this show because I can only do 2 of them, and that's it. I'm done.
But yeah, it's like it's bad enough the elders like we're gonna put it in this tiny hole in a rock, but He-Man just like, oh, this thing's powerful. Let's just chuck it randomly
Just
into
throw-
the water.
yeah, throw it as far as
Nothing
we
bad
can.
resides in the water.
Right. Yeah. And then the cloud goes away because he doesn't have the amulet and stuff. And then
no. He-Man does the tornado spin.
Oh yeah,
Classic
he does the tornado
Filmation.
spin to swoop
Yeah,
it away.
baby.
But then we see
No.
Mekaneck has now used his neck to tie up Marzo.
Yes.
So now he's just like Plastic Man. Like he can just, or Mr. Fantastic. Like he can just, not only can his neck go really far, but now it can just wrap around and tie people up. So
yes. And there's
it's just embarrassing.
I think Marzo does say something like, hello, my stretchy necked friend or something.
Yeah.
But technically, Mekaneck doesn't, I guess he knows the amulet, so I guess he can assume that the dwarf changed into this dude.
Maybe.
But there's really, because
They
like
don't
he doesn't
acknowledge that. Yeah.
it doesn't get acknowledged, and Marzo didn't transform in front of him. So there's also not really that kind of comeuppance of like, this is my fault type of thing either.
Right. And that was one thing. I mean, I was going to get into like at the very end of the episode, but Mekaneck doesn't ever even tell any of the masters or He-Man that, hey, this was my fault. Like that never comes up. That like normally when one of them messes up in an episode like this, there comes a moment where they have to kind of own up like, hey, this is my fault. I wish I wouldn't have done that or whatever. I got duped.
Right.
He never does that. So as far as I know, as far as the masters are concerned, this thing just happened, but to no fault of anybody, even though really it is to Mekaneck's fault.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Mekaneck even knows it's his fault. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Reconnaissance.
And then He-Man says to him that Neck is pretty special, to which he replies, that's kind of what Adam said. And He-Man then makes a point of saying that Adam kid is a pretty smart kid.
I love when He-Man does this. I love when He-Man compliments Adam.
This is what I was complaining about earlier in the season, because not only was Man-at-Arms not standing up for Adam, but He-Man wasn't standing up for Adam. And He-Man is Adam. But, when Tila would say some shit, like He-Man wouldn't be like, oh, try to excuse Adam's absence or any of that. In the last few episodes, we've started to see He-Man start to compliment Adam while he's He-Man to others to try to kind of boost the image of Adam, which I think is absolutely great.
No, I agree. And I think it shows Adam, or well, yeah, Adam's growth as He-Man, where he's having a better time being able to play the dual identity now.
Yes, for
Whereas
sure.
before he was always so worried about a slip up that he's like, I'm not even gonna, acknowledge this.
Yes.
So, did you get our moral, Curtis?
The moral is everyone is special. Don't try to be like others. Be the best you that you can be. So,
and again, that moral, it's a great moral, but it really doesn't tie into the episode because he kind of wished he was somebody else. He never got the chance to be anybody else, and he never really embraced his reconnaissance role.
right.
So it's
he used the stretchy neck biting stuff with your teeth role. So
right.
And here's the thing that just kind of irritates me. Like, I was a Mekaneck fan growing up. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't like the classics version of Mekaneck. I don't like when they give you the different size necks that you have to switch out. Like, screw that. I don't want that. I like the guy that you twist him and his neck goes up, and twist him and his neck goes down, and he does, like, I kind of envisioned him kind of, doing a power punch as he's doing that.
Sure.
So, like, I liked Mekaneck. And so for you to take that guy and make him into this kind of, now, we've seen it a couple episodes ago where Tila is reading his mind and says, you wish you had better powers. And then, through this episode, it's like they're making a joke out of him. And you and I talked in a previous episode, like, even to this day, that joke is kind of running where he's just like a joke of a character, but he shouldn't be.
That's my big problem with it, is that this one instance, and it's not even the whole episode, because he does technically, he's happy with himself at the end of the episode, but this setup for an episode has now become like the locked in lore that this is the character. He hates himself and he's a joke, and it's like,
but here's what they could have done. Here's what they could have done. Like, look at Transformers and how they used, like, Laserbeak to spy on things. Look at, hell, even in this series, look how they use the Doom Seekers, right? And it becomes a story point that these things now show you what's going on, so that they can then plan around and stuff. They could have done the same thing with Mekaneck. They could have made that reconnaissance a very important role. Instead, they made it a joke. So, yeah, it's just frustrating.
No, I agree. It's like, I don't mind it in this episode, but I hate that it's become the established lore for the character for everything going forward.
I feel like the episode is supposed to make Mekaneck feel comfortable with himself, supposed to make us feel like he is a valuable member of the team, but that's not what happened. I think that, to your point earlier, like, if they would have done it to where he did embrace that role, and somehow that is how they ended up saving the day, that would have been great. But that's not what they accomplished with this. So I just feel like it's good intent. I think they had the bones of a good episode, but it's just kind of bad storytelling.
No,
Final thoughts?
I agree with that completely, because there's the payoffs in this aren't nearly as impactful, and like, basically, for lack of a better way of describing it, he's kind of the Aquaman of the Justice League for the Masters. There's always going to be, so you talk to fish, huh? And all that kind of vibe. And, unfortunately, none of this has remotely managed to erase those jokes.
Right.
And now we got new ones, because he's literally, even in the lesson at the end, he's using his teeth to bite a kite out of a tree for a kid, which is only making it weirder that we don't have a bite action for Mekaneck in any of the action figures to date now. So.
Hinge jaw. Ugh.
Yeah, it's definitely, when I found out that this was the one I'm going to be on, I'm like, oh god. But here I am.
It would have been better, like, if what they were thinking is that his powers are lame, and we're trying to work around that, then give him a different power. Like, maybe his neck can stretch, but he can also shoot a freaking laser beam from the side of his head. Maybe, Man-at-Arms develops some sort of attachment that goes on his head that can grab things or whatever. To have him do it with his teeth is just dumb.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
So. No, I agree. And that's my big thing. We talked about it already, but, like, I honestly wish they had given him like he actually got granted other powers from Marzo, and
Mm.
maybe even do it like oh, you have these powers because of this amulet I'm giving you, or a necklace or something, and if you take it off, then you'll lose these powers and you'll have your lame powers again. And then it end up being the final conflict where he realizes those powers aren't working. And then he realized that he needs his reconnaissance powers.
Dude, that would have been so much better. You should be a comic or a cartoon story writer, because that would have been so much better. One thing we did forget to mention, I kind of hinted at it earlier, but at the very end of the episode, we see kind of some underneath the water. We see that the amulet is still intact. It didn't explode, even though it looked like it did.
Right.
And it's just sitting on the ocean bottom, just laying there. So foreshadowing.
Thank God there are no evil warriors in the ocean.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully we don't get another giant fish, but we'll see.
All right, guys, we're at the end of the episode, so you know what time it is. It is time for our Power Sword ranking. For those of you who are unfamiliar, 3 Power Swords is the best of the best, an amazing episode. 2 Power Swords is an above average episode. 1 Power Sword is a good episode. We got the Cosmic Enforcer, that's neither good nor bad, right down the middle. Then we've got our Havoc Staffs. 1 Havoc Staff is bad, 2 Havoc Staffs is worse, 3 Havoc Staffs should be banished to Despondos for all eternity and never viewed again. As always, Curtis, kick us off with our Power Sword ranking.
Well, I mean, we've talked at length about the things that are wrong with this episode. Just, terrible writing and kind of a joke of Mekaneck and different plot holes throughout. But it did introduce Marzo as a badass villain who is strong enough to have taken out all of the masters, which is something that Skeletor and Evelyn and all of them have not done at this point. So we have furthered the story by introducing this really cool character. We furthered the development of Adam and He-Man with just some of the little call outs and, encouraging Mekaneck early in the episode, and then talking about Adam being a smart kid towards the end of the episode. And we developed the story a little bit more for Mekaneck, even though it was a crappy story. So I'm going to have to give it at least 1 Power Sword. I would like to give it more, but I just can't because the story's bad. But I'm going to give it 1 Power Sword.
All right, 1 Power Sword for Curtis. Sean.
I'm going to have to sully that, which is Curtis's favorite, but I'm going to give it a Cosmic Enforcer.
Wow.
The reason being that this one is one that every time I've watched MYP, it is always the one that the minute it comes up, I'm like, okay. It's almost like the troll at the bridge. You got to get over this one to get to some other good stuff on the other side. Marzo is the best part of the episode. The fact that they redesigned him so well, and the fact that, like Curtis said, he is capable of taking down the masters by himself is actually a really impressive feat. He's the reason that I didn't give it a Havoc Staff, which I don't try to go that way. But man, does this one, it just does not work on multiple viewings for me on a lot of levels.
So for me, this is always one. Overall, I enjoy this episode. I know I bagged on it a lot, but there is a lot of good. Like you guys said, Marzo redeems this episode all by himself.
Yeah.
It is a fun episode. I did not feel like with Turnabout where it was just kind of like dragging on and it went quickly. But I really and the animation, we didn't really touch on that, but the animation was back up to that good animation. The battles
we didn't
were
see all
fluid.
the use of the shadow, black and white, BS. Yeah,
right. Like everybody looked good.
Mhm.
So it was a crisp episode as well. It moves along quickly, especially coming off of Turnabout. I think helps this episode.
Oh yeah,
because it is definitely a big step up from that. As much as I want to give this 2 Power Swords, though, I just find I can't. So I got to go 1 Power Sword. I really wanted to give it 2, and that was my initial thought. But after watching the episode through twice, I'm like, no, the story inconsistencies are just too much. This needed one more pass, one more draft, and I think it has the potential to be a 3-power sword, in my opinion. The story, unfortunately, the execution is just not quite there. All right. So that is Mekaneck's Lament. Thank you, Sean, for jumping on with us. We do appreciate
thanks. That
it.
was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Do us a favor, click all those buttons down below, the like, the share, the subscribe, especially the share. If you've got somebody who loves 2000X, maybe somebody who you've been trying to get to experience 2000X for the first time, like, you know, maybe this will convince them, like, hey, watch the episode and then you can listen to these dorks talk about it for an hour. So check us out, and next time we will be on episode 13, Night of the Shadow Beasts. All right, guys. Until next time, go watch Mike Young Productions' He-Man and the Master Universe on Amazon Prime.
Oh, come on.